Hey guys, recently Frank Tefano released a video talking about how to build a bigger chest or his critique on getting a bigger, thicker chest, and it was a disaster, completely disastrous. I wanted to cover some things growing up all through high school football and playing a little semi-pro football before going off to the military, the way we train, the way I still train now, and the way most of your top professional athletes across the world train, and just get into some things that Frank completely had wrong. One of the things that's the most critical to building a big chest is your compound movements. You have two different types of muscle fibers. You have a fast twitch or a slow twitch, or you have a first phase or second phase. There are different things that people will call them. You have different fibers that activate under different loads. You have many reasons why a compound movement like the bench press is critical for chest growth in general. Um, if you look at most of your hormone development or when your body releases certain types of hormones, it's under stressful situations. It's under those signaling, the body cues when it says it's time to grow. Compound movements are essential for any kind of development in general with the body. One of the things that Frank failed to mention during his video is a big chest typically comes with a decent sized bench or a decent sized bench or attributed to that person's body. One of the ways to achieve that is by having a strong back. Having a strong back is a secondary um, stabilizer, helps control the weight coming down when you engage your lats. You're out here, you're coming down, and you're trying to engage your lats to help control that weight as it's coming down. So when you really get into that pressing movement, you can really come up and get those secondary muscle fibers involved to really press out of it and come out of it. Frank didn't mention any of that stuff. A lot of times in the video when Frank was doing his movements, he was doing them completely wrong. Here, I'll show you where Frank has his hands in the wrong position to even begin with. Whenever I'm doing cable flies or something like that, if I'm coming from a position where I'm back and I'm really coming forward, I'm wanting to try to open my chest up as much as I possibly can and get that squeezing motion as I'm coming forward, and he wasn't doing that. He was letting his shoulders roll forward. He was closing his chest up. He was getting half the movement out of his chest. The work wasn't there. The load wasn't there. The enticing of hypertrophy training that he was claiming, which is the complete wrong rep range for what he was talking about. You're looking for something more along the lines of 8 to 12, 6 to 12, with a weight that you can handle, but it's still pretty tough at the same time. And Frank had all that completely wrong. I think the problem here is Frank trying to tailor to a crowd, which um, I don't, condemn the guy for it, but he's trying to get too big and be liked by too many people and get himself involved with too many things. And he just needs to stick to the carnivore stuff. He's really good at that. But getting over into the fitness stuff and things of that nature, even a fat guy like myself can tell you that I watched that video, and because of my previous knowledge, I would never recommend that video to anybody. It was completely atrocious. The fact that when he was on the machines, when he was doing his fly, actually when he was on the incline bench, when he was doing his flies, his arms were way too bent. There was really little to no activation of the chest at all. His shoulders, he kept rolling forward, and then he would lead with his chest and then pull his shoulders forward. And the movement of the dumbbells in general, instead of him contracting and really pressing through, he was leaving his hands open, and there was no real contraction there. So the critiquing of the video, at first I was thinking to myself, do I really need to do this? Well, I think so, because there's a lot of people that watch me that watch him, and I want them to get good information. It's as simple as that. Whenever I do a fly on an incline bench like that, I make sure I've got a good solid weight. I want, I'll typically start something out like that, even as big as I am and as strong as I am. I'll start with about 30 pounds just to get a good feel for it. And I won't really, I kind of do a little bit more of an Arnold style. I'll really let it go. I won't go all the way out to where I really hurt my elbows and stuff like that, I take that leverage point and I just take something that's 30 pounds and make it feel like it's 50. I'll leave them kind of slightly bent a little bit, and when I come back, I'll come back and I'll really focus on leaving that chest open, and I'll let it come back some, and I'll feel that extra pull, but I know to quit right there. I don't have my arms in here like Frank did, where I'm going like this and my chest isn't getting the activation. I want my arms to be out more. I want whenever I come back and come up, I want my hands to almost be turned in or straight, going from an outward position to in, or just leave them in the whole time. Leave them, flexed the whole time, because you can really turn that chest in. With your hands out, you almost release the pressure off your chest. The whole focus is gone at that point. Building that bigger chest with a fly is not going to happen like you think. So that was completely wrong. Leading with the chest or shoulders rolled forward, that was not good advice at all. It was poor form. It was very little weight, and the strength that I thought I would see there, seeing that title when it popped up, I have to say I was kind of let down by that. I mean, it was there's a lot of women on YouTube in general that are really, really good with fitness that are a lot stronger than that, and you can tell there was a lot of struggle there. The pec deck was a disaster. Whenever I get on the pec deck, I normally like to really get my arms out there. I want to feel that. I want to feel it in my chest. I want to get my arms out there. His arms were really in. He was bringing it in like this, and there was like almost no movement. There was almost rolling in with the shoulders, and then eventually it got to the point where he was pulling his body forward, and it was like this swimming motion, except it was really slow, and this is not how you do it. You don't do any of it. It was poor advice. The rep ranges for the hypertrophy training was way off, and just in general, it was something that was just very, very poorly done. And there were a lot of carnivores that popped up in the message section saying, look, I would not take advice from you when it comes to physical fitness stuff like this. Like, you are naturally gifted with a more athletic style body, but when it comes to actually utilizing your body to what people think they're looking at potential wise, you don't have it. And the advice that you give physically, it just doesn't seem like it's there. Now, if we were to look at like Jeff Cavalieri from Athlean X, one of the first things he says is, I don't like chest flies at all. It's just a very unstable movement. You can hurt the lateral head of your shoulder. You can really pull the wrong way. What happens when things give out and you go, and people just do it. It's not one of his favorite movements. But if you're going to do it, again, he's got his hands turned in. There's none of the stuff like Frank was doing. He's got the chest flexed the whole way. He's coming all the way through. I'm going to shoot some pictures up here of the actual proper positions, and every single person that you'll find video-wise and recommendation-wise, bodybuilding.com, the top 8 out of 10 movements before you even get to dips and chest flies and things like that is dumbbell presses, barbell presses. These are the things that make you grow, those compound workouts, those compound movements that really get the hormones going, that really get those deep muscle fiber activation and stuff like that, that really entice your muscles to grow. Not flies and dips, which dips are good, don't get me wrong, and flies are good. They're accessory workouts. They're secondary workouts. I'm going to put a picture up of Tyrone Beckman, and you'll see he's got his hand like this because he just got done explaining my primary workouts for my growth is going to be bench press. I'm going to be getting my compound movements out of the way, and then I'm going to go to my accessory work at the end to kind of finish everything up, round up the heads, things of that nature. That's what Tyrone was saying. I'll throw some pictures up with Jay Cutler, multiple Mr. Olympia. Same thing with him. He warms up with an NFL style pivot point machine, or what I would call a sled machine, and it's a pressing movement. He warms up the muscles that way, and then he goes to a benching style movement with dumbbells, incline. And then towards the end, it comes flies. Flies is never one of those things. It's an accessory workout. It's not something to build a big chest off of. And Frank really had that stuff wrong. So I'll post the videos up over me talking throughout this entire section here. And hopefully it will make sense so I don't have to drag this video on and make it even longer. But I would hope that Frank would completely stay out of giving people recommendations when it comes to physical activity until he starts putting more time in the gym himself and actually using proper form and stuff like that. The pec deck, I usually have my back planted all the way. I try to do no arching, no anything at all. I can lower my hands to a lower fixed position, and my shoulders stay pinned back. My shoulders stay pinned back. My chest stays opened up, and I'm pulling, and I'm trying to give everything that I have and come out here and squeeze, and then I go back, and then come out here and squeeze and go back. Or I can raise. They have pivot points. I can come up even more and get more of my upper chest and come across and squeeze and go back. Or I can go lower. I can put my hands lower, bring the arms in more, so I'm at a lower position, and then I can come forward here and squeeze. I'm not doing all this stuff that he was doing. I mean, just it was wild, and I hope that. Anyway, let's look at some top recommendations from bodybuilding.com on how to build a bigger chest. Let's look at Mr. Olympia. Let's look at Tyrone Beckman, another one of our star athletes that was a potential NFL candidate. Let's look at Jeff Cavalieri from Athlete X. Let's look at some different things to show, and I'll show you that I'm not picking at Frank. I just want people to know the actual truth and better advice, and even my advice can be altered and given, but Frank was just, oh buddy.